The war came without warning. One moment the skies above Station K-91 were quiet. The next they were filled with fire. Alien ships tore through the defense grid like paper. Screams echoed through metal halls. Soldiers fought back, but it wasn't enough. The attackers moved fast, brutal, and with one goal: capture, not kill. In the chaos, a young alien girl named Vela was dragged from her post. She was a translator, not a fighter. She didn't even carry a weapon. But the invaders didn't care. To them, she was just another test subject. Chains. Darkness. Silence. That's all Vela had known for the past 7 days. She was trapped in a cold metal cell, wrists and ankles bound by tight energy cuffs. The air smelled like smoke and chemicals. Her skin burned from every test, every needle, every question she refused to answer. They didn't want secrets. They wanted to break her. But she didn't break. Not yet. Outside her cell, metal boots echoed. One of the alien scientists, a tall, red-eyed creature with gray skin and long fingers, stepped into the room. Behind him stood 2 guards in black armor. Still silent, the scientist hissed. Vela looked up, her voice cracked. Still stronger than you, the alien smiled cruelly. We'll see how long that lasts. He raised a sharp tool. The guard stepped forward. Vela closed her eyes. She was ready to die now, but then, an explosion. The entire ship rocked. Screams, sirens, fire alarms. One of the walls blew open. A blast of smoke and debris filled the chamber, and through the smoke, a human stepped in. He was covered in dirt, blood, and soot. His armor was dented. His weapon burned with fresh plasma. He looked like someone who had fought his way through hell. And maybe he had. His name was Sergeant Leon Cade, Earth Forces, and he had come for one person only. The guards turned, raising weapons. Cade didn't stop. Bam! Bam! 2 shots, 2 bodies hit the floor. The scientist screamed and ran. Cade stepped fully into the room, weapon still raised, eyes scanning fast. Then his eyes locked on Vela, chained, bruised, but still alive. You're the one they took, he said. She stared at him, voice shaking. Why are you here? He stepped closer and smiled just a little. Because I don't leave people behind. Smoke filled the broken chamber. The red lights blinked in warning as the emergency sirens screamed overhead. But in the center of it all, between crushed walls and 2 dead guards, Sergeant Leon Cade stood calm and focused. His weapon still steamed from the last blast. He walked toward the chained girl. Vela stared at him, confused, weak, and barely holding herself upright. You're human, she whispered. How did you even get here? Cade knelt beside her, checking the energy cuffs. Snuck in through the cargo bay, blew a hole in their sensor relay, and followed the screams. He paused. Yours were the loudest. She flinched, ashamed, but he looked up and added, That's not weakness. That's how I found you. Cade pulled out a small EMP charge from his belt. Close your eyes. Might sting. He pressed it to her cuffs. Buzz, and the bindings sparked, then dropped. Her arms fell, too weak to move. Without a word, he caught her before she hit the ground. She gasped. His arms were strong, solid, real. I've got you, he said. Suddenly, footsteps echoed in the hallway. More guards. Cade lifted her with one arm, grabbed his rifle with the other, and moved fast. Vela whispered, You'll die if you try to carry me. He smirked. Wouldn't be my first bad idea. The hallway exploded with gunfire as Cade turned and fired. He ducked behind a console, shielding Vela with his body. 10 at least, he muttered. She clutched his jacket. You should go. Leave me. No, he said firmly. Not happening. But, Cade looked her straight in the eyes. I didn't fight through this ship to leave empty-handed. You're getting out of here even if I don't. For a moment, time slowed. She saw him. Not just the armor or the gun, but the man behind it. A man who risked everything. For her. Someone he didn't even know. She had been chained for a week, beaten, mocked. Treated like less than nothing. But this human. He looked at her like she still mattered. Gunfire rained again. Cade cursed, looked around, and spotted a maintenance hatch halfway down the hall. "Hold tight," he said. Then, without waiting, he ran straight into the line of fire. Shots blasted past them. Cade spun, firing back, covering them both. He slid into the hatch, kicked it open, and dropped down with Viola in his arms. They landed hard in a dark, narrow crawl space. He grunted. "Still with me?" She nodded weakly. "Barely." For a while they moved in silence, crawling through steam-filled tunnels, Cade holding her close, his heart pounding. Not from fear, but from the weight of her body, the nearness of death, and the drive to finish what he started. Finally, they reached the emergency escape shaft. He leaned her gently against the wall. "This is it," he said. "One pod left." She shook her head. "You take it." "Nope. I don't rescue people just to ditch them." She looked into his eyes. "You'll be stuck. You'll die." He smiled. "I've had worse weekends." Before she could argue, he lifted her into the pod and closed the hatch. She slammed a weak hand against the window. "Why? Why are you doing this?" His voice came through the comm. "Because no one came for my sister when she was taken. I swore. Next time I'd be the one kicking the doors down." Her breath caught. She pressed her hand against the glass. His hand met it from the other side. Then the pod launched. She watched the ship fall away, watched the wreckage grow smaller, her heart pounding, and the last thing she saw was him, still standing there, still fighting, still alive. Maybe. The pod landed hard on the dusty plains of Outpost Lyra 7, a remote Earth-allied station on the edge of neutral space. Inside, Viola lay curled in a medical bed, barely conscious, her skin pale from exhaustion and pain. Her wounds were healing, but something inside her wasn't. Sergeant Cade had stayed behind. He had fought off at least a dozen guards alone to launch her escape. She had begged him to come with her, but he never listened. Now she feared he was gone. The medics were kind. They gave her clean clothes, proper food, and warm words. But none of it mattered. Not without him. For hours, then days, she sat by the radio station, waiting, hoping. One of the Earth officers tried to comfort her. "Sometimes heroes don't make it back," he said gently. Vela turned her face away, hiding the sting in her eyes. He was more than that. On the 5th day, just before sunrise, a comms tech ran into the room. "Ma'am, you need to..." "Hear this." Vela stood so fast she almost fell. The tech turned up the volume, a broken, static-filled voice echoed through the room. "This is Sergeant Leon Cade, alive, but stuck. Ship core unstable, running low on air. One shot left. But I got them. I got every last one." Vela's hands flew to her mouth. Her knees gave out, and she sank to the floor. "If anyone hears this, tell her I kept my word. I didn't leave her behind." The room fell silent. She stared at the radio. He was alive, hurt, alone, trapped, but alive. She whispered, "We have to go back." The tech hesitated. "We can't send troops to a hostile zone. It's suicide." Viola stood up, fire in her eyes. "Then don't send an army. Send me." She wasn't the same girl who had been dragged from her post and tortured. She wasn't just a translator anymore. She had someone to fight for now, someone who had fought for her first. Within hours, she was suiting up in basic armor. A shuttle pilot, hesitant but loyal, agreed to fly her back to the orbiting wreck of the alien ship. "Why are you doing this?" he asked as the shuttle lifted off. Vela's voice was calm but firm. "Because when no one else came..." He did. "Now it's my turn." The shuttle broke into orbit. There it was, the burnt, drifting alien warship, smoking and dead, still circling the atmosphere like a scar in the sky. Viola stared at it. Somewhere in that steel coffin, he was waiting, and she would not fail him. The shuttle docked with a weak hiss. The wrecked alien warship floated like a ghost above the planet, scorched, cracked, and barely holding together. Viola stood at the airlock, heart pounding. She wore light armor, but her courage was heavier. The pilot glanced at her. Final chance to back out. She shook her head. If he's still breathing, I'm not leaving without him. The doors creaked open. Vela stepped into the darkness. The corridors were quiet, lit only by flickering emergency lights. Sparks dripped from shattered panels. Dried blood stained the walls. She moved slowly, carefully. Every sound, every creak of metal echoed too loudly. She followed the trail of burned alien bodies and broken weapons. This was where Sergeant Cade had fought, and won. A faint sound echoed from deep within the ship. She paused. It wasn't metal. It wasn't machinery. It was breathing. She hurried down the hall, hand on the small blaster she barely knew how to use. Then she found it. A half-collapsed door. Behind it, an open chamber. She forced it open. Inside lay Leon Cade. He was slumped against the wall, his armor cracked, blood on his lips, breathing shallow, but alive. Vela ran to him, dropped to her knees. Leon? His eyes fluttered open slowly. He gave her a weak smile. Took you long enough, he whispered. She let out a shaky laugh. You're lucky I came at all. He coughed. I'm lucky you're stubborn. She touched his face, tears in her eyes. You should have come with me. I couldn't, not without making sure you got out. He coughed again. Did they hurt you again? She shook her head. Not after you. Not anymore. He smiled, then grimaced. Good. Then she heard a low groan from behind the wall. Her body tensed. Cade's voice grew tight. There's one more. What? Cell across the chamber. Another prisoner. Been quiet until now. Viola stood quickly and moved to the corner. Behind a steel barrier was another alien girl. Young, trembling, half-conscious, chained like she once was. Her skin was green-blue, her eyes a dull glow. Vela froze. She's from my homeworld, she whispered. Cade coughed hard. Can't leave her. Viola looked at him. She remembered the cold, the silence, the feeling of being forgotten. Then she looked at the girl, who was too weak to even beg for help. Viola nodded. I know. With effort, she blasted the lock and pulled the girl into her arms. I'll get you both out, she said quietly. Cade chuckled faintly. You're rescuing me now? She smiled. Looks like it. She carried the girl, helped Cade up, and began the slow walk back through the ruins. The fire hadn't broken her. Now, she would carry others through it too. The shuttle touched down, at Outpost Lyra 7 under a red sunrise. Medics rushed toward the landing pad as the doors opened. Everyone expected a body. No one expected 2 alien survivors and a half-dead human war hero to stumble out of the smoke. Viola stepped down first, her armor cracked, her face smudged with grease and sweat. But her eyes held fire. In her arms was the second alien girl, silent, limp, but alive. Behind her, Sergeant Leon Cade leaned heavily on a field staff. He limped forward, barely conscious but standing. Gasps rippled through the soldiers. Whispers spread like wildfire. That's the human who fought through an alien battleship. He came back from the dead. And he didn't come alone. News spread across systems fast. Alien and human news channels picked it up. A story that shouldn't be real, yet was. Tortured alien girl saved by rogue human soldier. Outpost hero returns with prisoners, defies galactic lines. Is this what humanity is capable of? Back in the medical bay, Viola sat beside Cade's bed. The other girl, whose name was Iria, was stable now, thanks to Earth medics. Viola looked at the screen where a reporter's voice echoed. The human risked death for 2 alien women. No bounty, no orders. Just choice. She turned to Cade. You're a story now, she said. He smirked weakly. Great. Maybe Me on a cereal box. She laughed softly, but her voice turned serious. They're saying this could shift alliances, that aliens might see humans differently after this. Cade didn't answer for a while. Then, I didn't do it for politics. I know. He looked at her. I did it because someone needed to. Because no one came when I called for help once. I swore, if I ever heard another scream, I wouldn't ignore it. She nodded, tears in her eyes. You kept that promise. And now, you gave Iria and me something we didn't think we'd ever feel again. What's that? She smiled softly. Safe. Later that evening, the Galactic Council sent a message. The rescue had stirred something bigger than anyone expected. Protests. Questions. New alliances being discussed. One reckless act of compassion had cracked the wall between species, and at the center of it was a battered human, a brave alien woman, and a girl who'd stopped believing anyone would care. The chamber of the Interworld Council was massive, built for dozens of alien species, each seat filled with leaders, diplomats, and generals. The ceiling was high, carved, from crystal glass reflecting the stars above. The air was tense, the silence heavy. And in the center stood Vila, no longer a broken prisoner but a witness, a survivor. The council had demanded testimony. They wanted to know why a human soldier broke into an enemy ship, risking interstellar war. They wanted to understand what truly happened and why it was sparking so much chaos. Vela stood before them all, alone, but not afraid. An old alien counselor asked, "Tell us, Vela of Nelsura, what made this human worth risking diplomatic fallout? Why defend his actions?" She looked around. Her eyes scanned the chamber. Some looked curious, others doubtful, suspicious, cold, but her voice didn't shake. He didn't come for power. He didn't come to score points in your games. He came because I screamed. She paused. I screamed for help. No one else answered. Not even my own people. Whispers echoed through the chamber, but she kept speaking. They tortured me for 7 days. I was a prisoner, a test subject, a joke to them. She swallowed hard, then straightened her shoulders. And then a human broke through their defenses, alone, bleeding, and he stood between me and death. Her voice hardened. He saved me. Then he refused to leave without the others. More murmurs. A few counselors shifted uncomfortably. She took a breath. You want to know what he means to me? Her voice rose. He reminded me that honor still exists, that not all species turn their backs when one of us is in chains. Her eyes locked on the counselors. I don't care what world you're from. You all sit here debating peace, debating law, but that human lived the truth you pretend to protect. Silence. Then one alien general leaned forward. And what do you suggest we do, alien girl? Give him a medal? She smiled, calm and certain. No. But maybe start seeing humans not as threats, but as something rarer. A long pause. Then, the lead Earth delegate stood up, quietly wiping his eyes. Another alien counselor followed, tapping their clawed fingers slowly in respect, and one by one several more began to rise, until the silence broke into thunderous applause. It had been 2 weeks since the council hearing, since Vela stood before the most powerful beings in the galaxy and spoke the truth no one else dared to say, since the galaxy began to whisper the same name, Sergeant Leon Cade. He lay in a recovery pod now, floating in warm healing gel, his body slowly stitching itself back together. Earth's medics called him lucky, but Vela knew better. It wasn't luck, it was choice. He chose to live for someone else. Each morning she sat by his chamber, not because she was told to, but because she wanted to. She no longer wore chains, no longer hid her scaled arms, no longer bowed her head when soldiers walked by. She was free, but more than that, she was seen, because of him. One evening, the pod hissed open. Leon's eyes blinked slowly, adjusting to the light. He looked thinner, worn, but alive. Vila stepped forward, heart pounding. "Hey," she whispered, unsure if he'd even remember her. He smiled, cracked and tired. "You again?" She laughed, a tear falling. Yes, me again. He looked around, groggily. Where are we? Safe, she said. Because of you. Later, when he could walk again, the two of them stepped outside the med center together. The sky was clear. The stars were bright. She looked up. They say you're reckless. Dangerous, unstable. Cade shrugged. Fair. She turned to him. But to me, you're the reason I'm breathing. He looked at her softly. Seriously. You're the reason I fought so hard. In the distance, a new fleet was being formed. Not just Earth ships, but ships from multiple worlds. They bore a new symbol, a star surrounded by many rings. Unity. The story of one reckless, human saving two forgotten alien girls had started something bigger than anyone expected. That night, Viola asked him quietly, "What will you do now?" Leon smiled. "Anything," he said. "As long as I'm not alone." She reached for his hand. "You're not."